And my idea was as a child that I would become a pianist. But life went differently. First of all, my parents said there are too many people who are nervous in our family. You cannot become an artist. Artists always be nervous. So it was out for me to become a pianist. And in a way, I would say it was quite good that I did not become a pianist because I wouldn't be able to hear what I would be playing. So then at one time, when I was about 12 years old, one of my friends was photographed. And she went to a female photographer. There was not at that time any woman who would have a profession except being at home and taking care of the household. So for me, going to this photographer who was a woman was already a great affair. And then I came into her studio, and there were lots of light, beautiful walls like here without any bric-a-brac, a few beautiful things which stood around. And I was so amazed about this beauty of this simplicity that I, there at 12 years, decided I want to become a photographer. I thought that only photographers would have this beautiful freedom of choice. So, but my parents thought differently. And so when I went on in growing, and I continued to decide that I wanted to become a photographer, my parents at last considered it, and my father said, no, my daughter will not become a photographer. This is impossible. She can be maybe a lawyer or a writer or a doctor or whatever, but a photographer, that was beneath my parents. But I insisted, and unfortunately, I had a very hard head. So we lived at the bank of the Rhine, and there was a Rhine bridge. And I went with my father over the Rhine bridge, and she said, "You please don't speak about it." And I said, if I can't beat, I jump. So this made my parents become very jittery. So then when it came the time for it, my mother said, so if you want to become a photographer, I am going to first do my duty as a mother. You have to learn how to cook. So I came into boarding school where I had to learn how to cook, but I was only interested in poetry at that time. So I was standing at the stove and reading poetry to my co-students until the directrice came down and said, "You are not hired here as a teacher of literature. You are here in order to learn how to cook. Do you want to learn that?" And I said, no. So they telegraphed to my parents, who came to get me. And again was this question of becoming a photographer. So I at last had my wish. I went to 2 years of studying photography. And in Munich, where I studied part of the time, it was wonderful to go over the street, and I would go and stop somebody and say, "Your face interests me. I would like to take a picture of you. Would you come to our school and I can make a picture?" So we could do that. But when I had my study finished, I was supposed to be with a photographer, and there were these people coming with silk dresses, with locks, curls all over, very fine dress and entirely artificial. And I thought, this is no profession for me. I can't do this. So I went to the German-Austrian Alp Association and said, "I would like to photograph nature." And they said, "You would like to photograph?" No woman would ever be accepted by us to go into the Alps and photograph. No, so that was also arts. So at the time I was already as a child quite heavy and very stiff. I remember when I was in the first ballroom dancing class, the boys who had to turn me around always back there for me. Turn me around. And I was about 18 when a cousin of mine, who was a dancer, said to me, "What is going to happen to you? You can't stay this way. You have to do something for yourself. Maybe you do something and study gymnastics. Gymnastics. I hate to move." So, but there was a school which combined music with movement. The teacher would play the piano or beat the drum or whatever, and the students would show certain beautiful movements, and they would do this. And I began to study there. So the man who had created this work, Dr. Rudolf Bode was his name, he would look at me and he would say, "What nonsense are you doing here? You are completely ungifted. There are so many beautiful professions which you can have. Why do you, for heaven's sake, choose this one?" I was terrified. But I bit my teeth together and I thought, let us see. So it was at that time in Germany, everything which had to do with movement was very much en vogue. And so since there were teachers necessary for our work, I passed my examination. And Dr. Bode came along, all the different people who were studying with him, and said something nice about his possibility of moving according to that what he had been teaching. And when he came to me, he stopped and he said, "You will do your way. You can speak and you can play the piano. About movement, he never mentioned it. So I started to teach this work. And I must say that through the music I was very successful. People would just fly with the temperament of the music, you know. I could improvise and they would move accordingly. So this went up for a few years and I was successful in it, but there was something which was disturbing me. When they were in class, they were very alert and very, just flew. But when I saw them on the street, or I saw them somewhere in social occasions, they were just as slouchy and as unalive as they were before. And I began to question, must there be music to enliven people? Also, what is it worth when people can be flying in a certain occasion when they are stimulated and otherwise fall back into their old habits? So all this was going on. When after the Second World War, there was a meeting of the international youth. All young people from all countries came together in Germany, near Dresden, in Hellerau, and showed their dances, and there were teachers who were speaking about their philosophy of life. It's very, very interesting. And I was there as one of the people who was also performing. And there was a woman whom I liked very much, very independent, searching person who had picked up children from the streets and children whose parents had died during the war. And she had made the first experimental school in Germany. Her name was Tami Olfken. And she gave us every morning gym class. And she came to me and she said, it seems that you have something to do with movement. Do you know Elsa Ginzel? I said, no, I've never heard her name. She said, when you come to Berlin, please go and visit her. She has done wonders for me. So I didn't come to Berlin for 2 years afterwards. But then when at last I arrived, I suddenly remembered this. I looked into the telephone book and found her name, found her address, and one day I came to her studio and sat down in the furthest corner of her studio. There she was, a rather hefty woman, very secure, very earthy, I would say. She had her back turned towards me. And she was working with her students on jumping. Jumping was something I always was very afraid of. Go away from the floor was for me very difficult. So there she was, she asked questions. She said, do you feel what is under your feet? Feel what is under my feet? That I never thought of that. I never felt it. what is under my feet? She asked, could you use what is under your feet as springboard? A springboard. She asked, do you feel that you jump through air? Jump through air? I had the feeling as though my clothes were pulled out of me. She said, do you want to jump? Do you want to jump? I was never asked this question. That was asked from me, and this is after the class. I went to her and I said, I want to be your student. She looked me up and down. I was so artificial with all that what I had long learned of movement, graceful movement. And she said, what are you doing? I told her. She said, are you successful? I was very proud of my success. I was still very young. I said, yes. She said, go and continue. Goodbye. So I was dismissed. It didn't let me rest. After 3 months, I went again. And she said, are you still with Dr. Boone? I said, yes. She said, continue. I said, why do you send me away all the time? She said, and this is very important also for all of us as same students, you have to unlearn everything you have to learn. You have to come back to your own nature. And that is the most difficult thing in the world. She said, don't want to take this responsibility. Goodbye. So I had to leave again. And then the third time when I came, she at last said, if you insist, I will accept you. But it will be very difficult for you to. Now, do you think it was difficult for me? Not at all. Whatever she said, I felt she spoke to my heart. I felt it was just wonderful. But there was one thing which I noticed all the time. She never looked at me. And I asked myself, why does she never look at me? Later on, years later, I understood why not, because she couldn't stand it to see me in my artificiality. So after I studied with her for more than a year, one day she came to me and said, thank God, the first movement. And I hadn't even noticed that I had moved. So then the hard time began, and I questioned everything which I did. I questioned it, and I felt so strongly how hollow all that had been what I have been doing. and believing and thinking. And so I continued to work with her. Altogether, I worked with her for 11 years, and I think if she would be still alive, I would still work with her. So it's an endless work. So, in October 1938, after 5 years with Hitler, I came to the United States. And I realized that I could not stop anything. I had $5 in my pocket, and I had to take a job right away. And there were years of preparation. But I would like to speak with you about what Elsa Ginder's work really is. Shortly after the Second World War, there was a very big wave of flu, a very dangerous flu, where many people got tuberculosis and died of it. And Elsa Ginder was one of the people who did get lung tuberculosis. The doctor, she was very infected on one side entirely. The doctor suggested that she goes to Switzerland and I would say dies in the Alps, where breathing would be easier, but Elsa Ginder had no money, so she could not do that. And she was a young, very positive person. She thought, maybe when I am very quiet and when I'm sensing my breathing and when I succeed to let the healthy part of my lungs work and the other side of my lung rest, maybe I could heal. She also lived a vegetarian. She cleaned herself very much inside and out. And she stayed in Berlin in her little room quietly for more than a year. And she healed. The doctor who had predicted that she would die examined her again and was amazed. He asked her, "Have you been in Davos? What did you do?" And she said, "I studied breathing and I tried to have my lung." And he became very angry and he said, "Wonders sometimes happen." He couldn't believe it. But during this time in which she was so quietly attending to her breathing, she discovered a number of other things which were very, very important. Namely, the capacities of the organism. She found out that the organism always has a tendency towards healing, towards renewing, towards balancing out. And this excited her very much. This was what she wanted to pursue. So actually her work more or less, was a kind of exploration into the nature of the living person. I was one of the guinea pigs at that time. We worked very much on becoming quiet, sensing, breathing, sensing our state of awareness, and so on. And it was a magnificent time in which I worked with her. And I'm still a student. So this is Esa Ginder's great contribution, and this is what I like to continue in this country. Ginder has never given a name to her work. We used to say we go to Esa Ginder, that was enough. She once said, it's in German, Arbeit am Menschen, work on the human being. But when I came to this country, everybody said, but you must have a name. You must name it. It was a very long time until I at last settled with this question of sensory awareness. So in this country, I had a lot of luck, I would say. It's very difficult to say that many of the things which happened were just happened, and that it was no merit in it. And I gave some classes by and by, and one of the people who was in my class was a weaver and photographer, very interesting woman. And just the day when I became an American citizen, 4 years after my entrance into the United States, she came to the class and she asked me, Charlotte, are you free tonight? And I said, yes, why? She said, I would like to invite you for dinner, and I would like you to meet my friend. So after class, we went out, and there stood a man, and she said, this is Eric Fromm, this is Charlotte Selver. I'd never heard the name Eric Fromm. So we went and had dinner together, and it was very beautiful. So beautiful that after I came home, I said to my mother, I have met my brother today. And she thought I was crazy. I had no brother. So Eric from during our meeting said, I would like to work with you and see what you are doing, but I'm too busy. Maybe there will be another time. And shortly afterwards, he proposed to this student of mine, and she, after 4 months of inquiring within herself, should she or shouldn't she marry him? She did marry him. And they decided that I should come and work with him during their honeymoon. I thought during the honeymoon, doesn't he have something? Something now funny happened. I was up in the mountains in Vermont and said, when you want me to come, please write me. And I was there 1 week, 2 weeks, no later. And then after 2.5 weeks, I sent a telegram and say, I'm leaving in 2 days. And there came a telephone. They had written me a letter 10 days ago, but they put it into a mailbox which wasn't emptied anymore. I should come right away. So I did come, and I must say, honestly, I don't know, was it that he was so happy with his new wife? And he was very delighted with the work. And he was very eager to give this message to his colleagues and so on, so that after he came back to New York, the Alanson White Association of Psychiatry, of whom he was vice president, all these people heard about the work, and in no time at all I had a great deal of students. So this was one of the things which happened. And then in one class, one of my students who was a writer asked, Charlotte, do you know that you are teaching Zen? I said, what is Zen? I had never heard about Zen. She said, I'll just read a book by a French Zen master. She explained it was a man who was a violinist and lost one hand in the war and could not play the violin anymore and became perhaps one of you will know the name of him, very renowned Zen master in France. So she translated 2 chapters of his book for me, and I read it, and I was amazed that there was so much akin with that what we were doing. And at the same time, another student of mine went to California, and she wrote me, I've heard a man speak about that what you are doing. I'm sending you a little book of him. And I got The Spirit of Zen by Alan Watts, his first little book. So when I had read that, I thought, I must see this man, I must meet him. So the next time when I went to California, I visited Alan Watts. And again, it was a very good meeting. I remember the first time when I saw him, he had a scroll up behind him. And I asked him what the scroll means. And he said, mountains are mountains. And I said, of course mountains are mountains. And he explained to me the process of the development in Zen. At last he said, mountains are mountains again. So I gave him a number of private lessons, and he said, "This is the living thing." I was amazed. And very shortly after that, Dick Baker, who was at the time at the university in Los Angeles, making programs for students. He was at the dentist, and he saw by chance one of my prospectus. And he looked at it and he thought, glass something where it's practice and no words. So he met me at the first seminar with Almos and I gave together in San Francisco. And it was he who studied, and at that time he was not yet a student of Zen. But it was he who later on introduced me to Suzuki Roshi. It was a very funny, we were all invited to lunch, and we had a beautiful lunch, and then came the little dessert, and I opened my dessert, and there was this little paper, and I read it here. Are you in balance? I opened it. Where do you feel breathing? So in other words, they had a friend who baked this, and they had made all kind of questions which I sometimes ask into this whatever. And so it was a great amusement. It was a time when the house in San Francisco was bought, and Charles and I gave a benefit for this house at the time, and Suzuki Roshi was speaking, and Katagiri Roshi was speaking, and we were experimenting, and Suzuki Roshi had my foot, and I had his foot, and he stimulated my back, and I stimulated his back, and he was so overjoyed with it that when he reported about one of the experiments, while he was speaking, he went up with his arm a few and down with his arm a few times, just experiencing so fully what we had been working at. So this was the beginning of my work with Zen students. I think this is about something like 26 years ago. And ever since we have been in connection, for which I'm very grateful. Suzuki Roshi said our students should all work this way. It has not been so much So, but many have come to the world. I think this is about what I would like to speak about. Maybe you have some questions. And I would be able to answer out of this microphone, which has a long cord, can come to you. And when you speak, would you hold this round flat towards your mouth? Then I can hear you best. So if there's anything you would like to ask.
This is a question, I don't know if whether you can speak about this, but it's a question about the conditions in Germany.
In Germany?
In Germany, yeah. Before you left, before 1938, you said that there was great interest in movement and all kind of things like this in Germany. And I always have read that there was much openness and exploration and so on in the 30s in Germany. And yet at the same time, this horrible repression and freezing of German society happened. And I wonder if you, how you viewed this and how this affected your life and how it was for you to leave Germany. Was it difficult to leave, or did you have to leave secretly or some way, or was it easy to leave, and how did you feel about it? What were the things in your life that caused you to leave?
This interest in movement was long before Hitler already. And it degenerated into what was called Kraft durch Freude. It means strength through joy, which is a Hitler saying. Most of the people who did work in movement joined this strength through joy. And I was at the time working at the university in Leipzig, teaching there. And everybody who was in Leipzig at the university had to have the swastika. And who did not was out to begin with. So we lived under the most difficult circumstances. Even the only place in which you were safe was in your own automobile. And even then, when you would go with your automobile, you would be stopped by the SS at any time and right away said, "Your papers, please." And when the papers didn't please, many people were just immediately pulled out of their cars and put into concentration camp. So it was often in the most horrible fear in which I arrived by car in Erzaginder's studio. And I never can forget that often so trembling with all that what I've been seeing on the way. Coming into this coming into this quiet of a studio, joining people to sense how it is when one becomes more at peace and by that more aware. I ask myself often, after 2 minutes, was that what was outside real, or I'm so transformed? So it was, the work with her was just a marvelous saving for me. No, I wanted to leave. I wanted to not to work anymore. At the university, my own background is I am half Jewish, half not Jewish, and so it was at one time I left the university and I left Leipzig and came to Berlin, and after some time of preparation I left for the United States. It was all without any secrecy. I just left and came into this new land. Was that what you wanted?
I have a kind of a non-historical question, a rather practical one that I've been wondering about for a while, regarding early morning Zendo activities.
Yeah.
And I've been in a number of practice periods where, for example, we've done walking meditation, kinhin, in a variety of styles, sometimes depending on who would be the head monk at Tassajara for the practice period.
Mm-hmm.
And for my own self, it seems that I really need some stimulation in the morning before doing quiet meditation or during kinhin, something that's rather energetic. And I don't know whether this is a variation in people's different metabolisms in the morning or what. So perhaps could you say something about what you feel about coming awake in the early morning in a Zen way, a sensory awareness.
We have often for weeks worked on what we called, this has nothing to do with you, baby's awakening. That means the baby wakes up and is a little glum first. Then by itself, not because it had been taught anything, it begins to stretch and stretches and rounds itself and frowns and goes in all directions, and when it has done this for a while, it's wide awake. Now, this could be done as an exercise, then it would be nothing worse. But when you wake up in the morning at 4:30, what is it? 4:30. So, and you do not right away jump out of bed. And you would stay a little, and you would listen to your own natural needs. Then some changes will come. You may begin to yawn, you may begin to stretch, you may begin to round yourself very much, you may begin to, I don't know what, it will come the more you don't think of exercising, you understand? You follow the needs of your own nature. And there will come a moment where you will feel, now spick and span. And you get up for anything, cleaning or sitting or whatever, you know. But the question is not to follow my advice, but to follow your own need. And this is what that in Linda's work is the most important question. Just the same as I've been speaking with Suzuki Roshi about it. In Zen, he says, just like Linda, to come to your original nature. Back in our world, we say that so much in our civilization, so our experiences, so much has been denied of our original nature that we are often very little able to live ourselves out, to be really there for what we are doing, to be really awake for, really ready for what we are doing. But so much is hindered, so much is constricted, so much is not open forward, psychologically as well as physically. And this exploration, how we can come to listen more to this amazing entity which is we, to that what is really deeply innerly needed to come back to our equipment which nature has given us, unrestricted. So there is this possibility of finding through this process in the morning one of the entrance doors into becoming ready for the day. Does it make sense?
Yes, it occurs to me whether sometimes, I don't know, in the morning perhaps 40 minutes of Kinhin, 10 minutes of sleep meditation, 40 minutes of Kinhin. That would be an interesting experiment.
You know, you have had very little experience of this work. We work a great deal on, we don't call it hanging, we call it walking, standing, sitting, walking, lying, as the basis of all activities which we can do in life, you know. There is an enormous amount to study, to discover. And it is the question of, do we, when we are in the study, do we tire of it? Or do we get sharp in it? You know, do we really become it? So this needs a lot of work. The last workshop which I gave, the benefit for the Zendo here was called the Four Human Dignities. That's an old saying. Lying, sitting, standing, walking. You can't do anything without either lying, or sitting, or standing, or moving, walking. So we have spent years in studying it. And it is not that we become tired of it, but enlightened by it. The more we come to it, the more full do we respond to it, and the more full do we meet what we are meeting at the moment. Yes.
When I was a child, I spent a lot of time on Monhegan, and we used on Monhegan. On Monhegan.
Reading.
Monhegan Island.
Oh, Monhegan. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And we watched you a lot as children, and it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Now that I'm older, I see a full circle hearing you again. And I wonder if you could tell me how you ended up there.
Where?
On Monhegan Island.
Oh. I read in the New York Times that there is an island where the fishermen are lobster fishermen, and where artists are paid, and no other people. And I thought, that's for me. That's how I landed there. Just following something which I read in the New York Times. And it was very typical, as a matter of fact, very typical what happened when I came to cross the ocean to come to the island. There was a woman sitting and knitting. And I asked her, are you living in Monhegan? She said, yes. And I said, could you give me an advice? I would like to find a room, a quiet room with a beautiful view. And she looked up and she said, you can be happy when you get a room at all. So that was the way I came to the island. And actually the people in Monhegan found us very objectionable. And so it took a very long time until we could come into the neighborhood of them. At the hippie time when all our people had long hair. By the way, now all the Monhegan people have long hair. So at that time, I was invited to tea to the wife of the most successful lobster fisher on Monhegan. And while we were sipping tea, she asked me, do you sometimes go into the zoo? I said, yes. She said, do you see the chimpanzees? I said, yes. She said, That's how we feel about you people. So we were not very well received by the inhabitants of Modena. But it became very different by and by. Yeah. Anything else?
Could you speak something about when Charles began to study with you and work together and how that changed or how that evolved?
It must have been about something like 1957 or so. Charles had a friend who studied with me and who induced him to come also. And he was at that time doing a lot of very beautiful carpentry work. And we exchanged, I gave classes to him and he renewed my kitchen. And he was so wonderful in it that I really fell in love with him. But I didn't tell him that. So he went up the ladders and took the things out and put them away and brought everything in order. And it was so that I always had to feel he has it. So on account of that, it was easy to work with him. He started working with me at 1957, and I think about 61 or so, we began to work together. Yes. It was a very wonderful possibility to work together. Although I often think that it was, Charles has been so much taking care of me with my hearing equipment and so on, that he has often spent so much time helping me that he had not too much of a chance to go on his own trip. But that could be changed. Just in the last 1.5 years of his life, he had started a whole new way of working and being with people. And it was very deep and wonderful. And he had hoped very much that he would have many years to develop this, but it hasn't been given to him. Still, in this beautiful memorial, I think everybody could feel how deeply he was estimated and loved by people. So much came out just when he had lived. In fact, what we have, I don't know, have you spoken about it, that those people who have spoken at the memorial are asked to either speak it into a tape or write it down so we can gather all the statements which were made at the memorial and could have it all for ourselves. I hope this is possible. Anything else? Yeah.
Charlotte, I remember in 1957 or 58, the first time I saw an announcement of your class at the New School, and it was called Nonverbal Communication, and I wanted to take that. I didn't, but it makes me think that you had some journey in finding the name sensory awareness, and may have called it other things. I think there was another name too. Could you speak about how you traveled and how you decided on sensory awareness?
And there was a time in which I was asked to give courses at the Institute for General Semantics. This is Korsipsky is the one who has founded this. And his study was, how does it come to the word, speak out. And he had been very much interested in the neurological connections inside the organism, and in the wonder of how it happens that one can come to speak and what one says is full and deep and has meaning. I think in the last session I gave here, spoken about it, but I want to repeat it here. But he found out that the organism has certain cells all through the organism, all through the whole of us. And they are called electrocolloid cells. Electrocolloid cells. These cells act as very well compared to the emulsion of a photographic substance. So in other words, when something happens, maybe you hear what I say, or you see, or you feel something, whatever it is. These cells are being impregnated. So that it comes to them. It changes them. And this, from there, the message goes into the sensory nervous system. Now, Korsipsky has found that both of these, the impregnation with the event and the reaction of the sensory nervous system, happen in full silence of the mind. No thinking. no expectation, no judgment, no criticizing, no nothing. Full silence. That means, to speak with Zen, empty mind. In full quiet. From there it goes, becomes conscious. And it comes to thought. And from there it comes to the word. And Korzybski says, in our civilization, these first two phases of reception and penetration are cut off because we have a right way to speak, to do, to act, to judge, to this, so on. If we cut this off, all our actions are superficial. They don't have the depth of the real deep reception. So in this way, he meets as agenda, and he meets then that only in full quiet is this experiencing possible, full experience is possible. And by that also the full based on experience, knowledge possible. So this kind of knowledge is completely different from the just brain knowledge. So only what is in this way allowed to be experienced can be a real, full, meaningful interconnection through the word or through action or whatever. So I find this unbelievably wonderful that these three ways coming from so different people meet fully in this great triumvirate, you know. So for me, when I was with the general semantic people, I gave the sessions there, and I just our work was a great basis for a different kind of possibility to react to things, you know. And I thought when it's possible that one can allow the sensory or nervous system to be so fully functioning through the inner silence, then it would be good if I would call the word sensory awareness. Although every name doesn't cover it at all. It just is a bridge. Yeah. It's very strange that I have, in the course of the work, forgotten, a great deal forgotten about this work at Korzybski's center. And in the last 1.5 years of Charles' life, he certainly has discovered Korzybski. And he has been overwhelmed with him, and I was really amused that I had already forgotten what I had so much delighted in. And here he comes and is so newly impressed. That's wonderful. Yeah. Anything else? So then I wish you a good night. Thank you very much. Thank you. How did I say come that you
We heard about it.
I will because it's something.
Oh, yeah. You always have something new. You always have something new that I haven't heard.
Yeah. Brings all kinds of things together.
Yeah.
It's amazing when my realizes how nice food is.
Yeah.
So, I hope this was you think? I think so. What is it? Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you, Anna. I hope we work together soon. I'm now free. Great. I can, many of the things which I've been doing, I have cancelled. And so I'm more free. So I could come and we could work together. Yeah. I could.
What about me?
Yeah.
I called you last Friday.
But it,
Like when I called you last Friday.
yeah. Dear, must it be planning? You want to
I need to fly. I go down Friday morning.
So I can think, right?
If you want me to.
Yes. If you ask, usually, I would like to go with you when it is no other possibility to drive. Because I always bring a number of things with me. I think it would be enough when I decided to give people. It's not so busy, I guess. So it's more because I had to give that same day 2 sessions, one in the afternoon and one in the evening. And in between is Tina and all the people inside. And it would be a little much flying, going to the airport, flying in front. This part is difficult. If it could be only one station, it would be still difficult. But to do this all in one day seems a little too much for me. I'll let you know. Yeah. It's nice to get anything. Yeah, how did you decide?
Because I have no children at home now, so now I can go. I have always wanted to go down there and work with you, but I couldn't. But now my son is down there.
So
now I am freer. Yeah.
sort of.
Do you know my baby? This is my baby.
Baby. Baby.
Where is she? Connie?
Wouldn't be too hot there.
And you guys each other sounds.
Okay. Charlotte, do you know this is my daughter?
I
You do
know
that. You have
It's
her.
amazing. It's an amazing daughter.
It's an amazing daughter.
Thank you as the daughter. This
Her name is Lara. Lara.
No,
La-L. Lara.
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 Lara. Lara. She's I get interested.
Very, very.
Do you know that we have a
I'm glad I said you come.
I'm hoping Charlotte. Does Charlotte know about it? Yes.
Thank you.
Does she think of coming?
Thank you. Good night. Good night.
I'm sorry. I thought I had it.
Yes. How did you I said Leaving to take my bus over. But I don't know how to get it. I must ask the others.
I liked it.
You think yes?
And I
My
like
bus was sufficient, not places.
Not your spot. Very,
Yeah.
I thought everybody was wearing a great
Really?
yes, and it's me.
So, nobody was
No.
even the children.
Yes.
Make sure that since
It was very nice place.
that's part of it.
Very
Yeah,
nice
that's part of it.
So,
Yeah, right, that's what we're part of it. And we would, for example, try to get an advocate if we can, you know, and definitely invited this. Part of
how did it go?
I thought it was wonderful.
Good.
It was wonderful.
Really?
Yeah,
Wonderful.
yeah.
I was proud.
What?
I was proud.
Proud. Proud? What do you mean?
I was very proud of you.
She's a sweetheart.
You have great eloquence. You have great eloquence when you speak. You're very eloquent. Yes.
Oh.
Yes, it,
Yeah.
That shows that I didn't ask. Was that she spoken about me and that's after.
did you bring a legion? Damn it.
I thought about it this afternoon
and I forgot about it tonight. Close. I will send them to you. If I don't see you, if I do not see you soon, I will send them.
And some people after the work.
I will either see you soon.
I think somebody can.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Kate is coming trick-or-treating with us.
Today?
Kate
Yeah.
Skinner comes to celebrate Halloween with us tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Yes. I will give it to Kate.
Good. Yeah, good.
Do you want to come with us?
That's right.
Would you like to come trick-or-treating?
I have a little cat.
She got a new cat.
And that cat is so demanding. Oh, is it demanding?
What is his name?
Smokey. It's as gray as smoke. And John has, they have a twins, one little boy and 6 weeks old. And the boy and girl. I got the girl. And his cat is called Foggy. And he's called Smokey. So, Smokey and Foggy. You must come and see it. It's a little wonder. And it's already so, it will always be on our lap. Always. Oh, it's so interesting what comes out of it. All the time in the sun, back in I don't know how these animals learn that. It's amazing. So,
Well, good night. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah.
oh, thank you.
And Monday night.
He helps making the acceptable. Yes, acceptable. I wonder what the people will say afterwards. You must ask them.
They have really found it important this month.
Yeah.
Yeah, very important.
You see.
Yeah, it's good. It's been good. Very, very good.
So,
I just hope this takes.
I hope.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I'm really
Good.
glad.
You know, as soon as I started,
Yeah.
Mr. Wheelwright leaned forward, and all I had was his cane and his head.
Oh, is that what
no.
you're
I
saying?
thought, oh, yeah, there was no way I could see Charlotte. I didn't
So
know
then
that I
did you
could
move the
zoom in.
camera, or-
No, I found that something I could do.
Oh, so you didn't miss too much?
I caught on eventually. I hope. I hope there was enough
yes,
light.
I have to go.
Really
They are
precious.
waiting.
So you've really been.
So many things.
Well, thank you.
It's, I would have liked to start with Adam and Eve.
Do you have that on tape?
Yes.
It was much sillier. I would have liked to say, when my father said, when Ruth sings, everybody comes into the room.
That's nice.
When Charlotte sings, everybody walks out. That was one of them. So, nobody's going to see it except for me.
We'll watch it at your house.
A private
When
party.
do you do it?
When you invite me over.
I have no television.
We can do it
Oh.
on
We do it
Sunday.
at my house. Oh, Sunday.
On
Maybe on Sunday.
Ah,
Are you gonna come on Sunday?
Of course.
Then it will come out. Then it will come out. So
you must have a VCR.
that would be interesting.
Oh, you don't need a VCR. You have to do it
It's
from here.
much too
Or use a
long.
TV. No.
No. Now then, yes, do it. And you make notes, criticize.
Yeah. So on Sunday, good.
Oh, you do when it, because it's, you let it come in on silent levels. I forgot to say, he called it silent devils. Silent devils. No criticism, no expectation, no judgment.
You remember all of this, right? You have to remember all of this.
Yeah. Oh, we have to do.
So we'll see.
Not a single time did I look into it.
You did great.
Yeah. So,
So we'll see you Sunday.
what is
We'll
it?
see you Sunday.
Season.
Okay.
But then you don't have to speak. Then you just listen.
Me too. I'm thrilled. I hope it takes. I'm not sure. I've never done this before.
I don't know about the lighting.
I don't know.
Do you have a meter on there that says anything about light?
There's nothing flashing, so I figured it was okay.
Changes its character. Things are empty.
Isn't it? Yeah. It's a different
I
place.
hate this sofa.
They're like beds. Well, after a hard Tran, I'll bet the Zen students really love these sofas.
They do. You know, look, that's how I looked when I was 16. This,
Yes.